Coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studio, this is Talking Politics, and I am New Jersey's premier and now 10-time award-winning journalist, top Latino as voted on by the Latino Spirit online magazine, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative, and certainly I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, because my level of honesty, folks, now more than ever, is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. That's right, folks, it is I, the People's Choice, and the People's Voice, the generational talent in media, Fernando Uribe. Happy December to you all. Good to be back in the studio here before our Christmas break. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. Folks, as we've been following the Daniel Penny case, it's certainly been one that has certainly provided a lot of discussion, insight, and of course, a lot of controversy. Now, let me give you some context about why Daniel Penny's acquittal is so important right now. Now, again, other subway passengers had testified that they felt real fear due to Jordan Neely's erratic behavior, which he had already had displayed on multiple occasions. And this is a guy with a very lengthy criminal record. Yes, he was suffering from some mental illness. And kind of funny for his father to all of a sudden now mysteriously appear and, sort of show concern for his son, who he left years ago. But mysteriously, and conveniently, when there's a payday in the horizon, what a surprise that Jordan Neely's father would want to cash in. Now, here's what's interesting. Even one witness had said that she had thanked Daniel Penny for protecting her and other subway riders because they had seen Neely's erratic behavior on the subway for quite some time. Now, let me just put this in perspective, folks. I think context is really, really important here. Because at the end of the day, how thin is the line between being a hero and being a vigilante? Let's be honest, it's razor thin, as the trial of Daniel Penny showed us. Now, Penny is a white former Marine who put Jordan Neely, a black man, in a 6-minute chokehold in the New York City subway in May of 2023. Neely died after the incident, and the prosecutors charged Penny with killing him. Now, earlier this week, a jury acquitted Penny of criminally negligent homicide. A second-degree manslaughter charge against Penny was tossed out last weekend after the jury couldn't reach a verdict. Now, reports on the deadly incident seem to divide Americans over racial issues. What a surprise. A privileged white man versus a homeless black man. But the Penny case also involved questions that have nothing to do with skin color. Because at the end of the day, what level of threat are we willing to live with? Is it morally right for a bystander to use force to stop a threat? Well, to me, folks, Daniel Penny's a hero who intervened to protect people who couldn't protect themselves, whether it's children, the disabled, or even the elderly who ride the New York City subways every day. The jury was right to acquit him, and the fact he was on trial at all, quite frankly, is an outrage for many of us. Now, Penny may have never thought he would be using the fight skills he learned in the Marines in such a dangerous, chaotic confrontation on the F train in Manhattan. But he did, and he faced up to 15 years of prison because of it. Now, after Neely screamed that he would kill someone, Penny placed him in a chokehold on the subway train's floor. Other passengers called law enforcement, who after arriving, began to administer CPR. Neely later was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Now, Penny, under questioning at a police station, said his intention was to subdue Neely, not to hurt him. But soon after Neely's death, Penny was charged. Now, cell phone video and body cam footage provided a clearer view of what had happened during the day. During the chokehold, Penny is neither vicious nor malicious. He's focused and steady, clearly attempting to subdue a threat. Now, 2 men did subsequently aid him in calming Neely down. Now, passengers later testified they were relieved that Penny had taken the initiative to protect them because they had seen Neely act in such an erratic and violent manner on multiple occasions on the F train platform. Now, the prosecution didn't argue that Penny intentionally committed murder. They argued that the chokehold went, quote, way too far, violating, quote, law and human decency. Now, the medical examiner ruled that Neely's cause of death was a direct result of the chokehold. Of course, the defense disputed that finding. And the prosecution tried to make the case that good intentions that turn out poorly have legal consequences. But the prosecutor's case looked weak throughout the trial, despite substantial evidence, including video footage and eyewitness accounts showing that Penny acted heroically. Prosecutors still brought the case against him. But what a surprise when the Manhattan District Attorney is Alvin Bragg. We all know what a joke Alvin Bragg has been with some of the charges that he trumped up against the 45th president, which we all know he won't be facing any punishment for. Thankfully, because let's be honest, folks, it's basically shuffling papers to sort of cover an affair you had with a porn star almost 20 years ago. But Alvin Bragg, remember, ran on a platform to try to prosecute Donald Trump. And again, one of those George Soros prosecutors was able to get elected in a very liberal New York City. And it backfired on him. Not just the charges against Trump, but this specific case involving Daniel Penny. Now, other passengers on the F train that day testified that they felt real fear due to Neely's erratic behavior. Again, he was showing a pattern for quite some time. A witness said she remembered Neely yelling, quote, "I don't give a damn, I will kill a mother effer. I'm ready to die." She also said under oath that she was, quote, "scared itless" by Neely's actions, and said she even thanked Penny for protecting her and other passengers afterwards. Now, another witness testified that he was terrified because of Neely's behavior, and a mother told jurors about trying to protect her child, while Neely previously arrested, folks, get ready for this, 42 times. Okay? If there's ever a reason to even denounce the joke of bail reform and the cash bail system that is really prevalent in the state of New York, folks, this case exemplifies. Okay? This is complete, unequivocal bullshit. And we have to call it out here. This is why blue cities have gone to shit. Because they're encouraging and in some cases upholding an awful bail reform policy and cash bail. There's no reason why Neely should have been arrested 42 times and not have been in prison yet. He should have been rotting at Rikers somewhere. But again, due to woke policies by a woke prosecutor and district attorney, again, we're seeing the bill come due, and we're seeing New York City becoming an absolute shithole. Folks, that's not opinion. That's fact. If you have eyes, like I do, and travel to New York City as often as I do, you'll see it for yourself too. Of course, including 3 arrests on charges of assaulting women on the subway. Of course, he was screaming threats. So already, Neely had been deemed a threat for quite some time. Why he was not put into the system is beyond me. But again, folks, that's how dysfunctional the criminal justice system is in the city of New York and the state of New York. Now, forensic pathologist Satish Chundru, a defense witness, testified that Penny's chokehold didn't kill Neely, but that the cause of death could instead be attributed to, quote, the combined effects of sickle cell crisis, the schizophrenia, the struggle and restraint, and the synthetic marijuana that Neely was ingesting on a consistent basis. Fellow Marines testified that Penny, awarded the Humanitarian Service Medal, was a man of honor and duty. Hey, folks, you just don't give that award out to random people. You give it to people who are most deserving of it. Now, the case against Penny never seemed that it was truly about upholding the law and order. The New York Post editorial board bemoaned that, quote, District Attorney Alvin Bragg's decision to prosecute looks like pure politics. Oh, you mean Alvin Bragg? Prosecuting based on politics? You're kidding. No shit. Wow, that's an interesting development. Now, what's interesting, though, folks, is that the Penny case highlights some serious and very difficult questions. What if the threat to my safety is vague but seems serious? What am I willing to do to protect myself or others from a threat? In recent months, an ongoing social media debate had questioned whether a woman alone in the woods would rather face a bear or a man. To the shock of men, women resoundingly said they'd choose the bear. These women argue that the men, not bears, have a reputation for everything from unwanted catcalling to rape and murder. Now, again, folks, this is, of course, the man or bear debate, however, is based on sort of a logical fallacy that demonizes men and lumps them all together as predators, which we all know that's not true. Now, the subway incident involving Neely and Penny shows that sometimes a good man is needed to protect women and men and children from danger. But, folks, this is what happened in this case. And I'm not surprised that the initial charge was deadlocked. Now, picture this for a minute, folks. Picture you sitting in that jury room, okay? Maybe you, a spouse, a sibling, an in-law, maybe one of your kids takes the subway every single day in various parts of New York City. Now, let's be honest, folks, New York City's gone to shit. Not just for the 8 years of Bill de Blasio, but let's be honest, these 4 years of Eric Adams hasn't been any better, okay? And what have we seen? We've seen the NYPD being handcuffed, literally, in trying to enforce laws. We're seeing the NYPD being vilified and in some cases demonized by the woke left. and all these social justice clowns and woke fools that seem more interested in demonizing the police than actually encouraging them. So what's a citizen going to do? Again, did Daniel Penny hold on to that chokehold too long? I mean, well, folks, we're never going to know. But let's be honest. How many times do we sit in a subway car and see passengers being harassed? And never mind that's a black guy, because again, folks, what we saw right after the acquittal is the usual hysteria from BLM protesters, bitching and moaning. Folks, I can tell you right now, it's clearly not 4 years ago. In the summer of 2020, when we saw people rioting, looting, vandalizing, all in the name of a career criminal, because that's what George Floyd was, folks. We put up statues for him. And during the pandemic, when people couldn't go to funerals for their loved ones, we had to make sure there was a funeral and a whole procession for George Floyd in Minneapolis, didn't we? Didn't we see every left-wing activist, every left-wing politician go to a church in Minneapolis to honor the career criminal George Floyd, who, by the way, folks, whose criminal record abstract is about as long as some of my graduate papers. Okay? I wrote term papers that aren't even as long as George Floyd's criminal abstract. But that's who the left was looking to glorify and make statues out of and make a hero out of. And that's who BLM decided to, again, hook their wagons to. Well, folks, it's 4 years later, and I can safely tell you that BLM doesn't have the influence it once did. Because I can tell you, if they did, we might have seen a very different outcome in New York City. And again, folks, it's a reminder that we are so back. After 4 years of dysfunction, incompetence, and just social justice nonsense. Hopefully, we're seeing some return to normalcy. And we're seeing that with the acquittal of Daniel Penny. Folks, you don't have to like it, but this really isn't about race. Because let's remember, there was a black man who was arrested for doing the exact same thing Daniel Penny was, okay, as he was protecting subway riders from a white man who was displaying violent, erratic behavior. Care to guess what happened to that black guy when it comes to whether or not he was indicted? Yeah, folks, no charges were filed. So why did Alvin Bragg file against Daniel Penny? Politics, you say? No way, you're kidding. Alvin Bragg's form of justice is predicated on politics and not jurisprudence? I would have never thought it. But folks, hopefully, there's a good sign of things to come in New York, where we stop catering to the woke left and all the social justice clowns and all these Black Lives Matter fools and all these protesters and all these vandals and derelicts and ratchet degenerates that simply sit there like seals at a circus, waiting for that next fish to be thrown at them. Yeah, folks, BLM doesn't have the influence they once did. Because I can tell you something. If this trial happened during the summer of 2020, Daniel Penny will be rotting in a jail cell, most likely for the rest of his life. Thankfully, we're getting back to some common sense. Thankfully, we're looking past skin color and all the other social justice nonsense. And we're just simply saying, hey, a subway rider, a decorated Marine, a great public servant, decided to protect men, women, the elderly, children, maybe even some disabled riders who frequent the New York City subways every single day. So shout out to Daniel Penny. Stay safe, young man. You did a good thing. And folks, sometimes doing the good thing isn't always easy. Sometimes it's ugly, but sometimes it's necessary. And that's what happened in New York City. So you know what? You want to talk about erecting statues for heroes? How about you tear down all the bullshit statues for George Floyd? Why don't you put up a statue for Daniel Penny? That's a hero that I can get behind. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. And now from some local stories for your consideration. And let's start in the Moscow city of Hoboken, where folks, Ravi Bala and the joke of his administration is at it again with, of course, as we all know that in the city of Hoboken, the Bala administration, along with his minions on the city council, known as the Lollipop Guild, you know what I'm talking about, right? Jim Doyle, the prom queen Emily Jabor, the charisma vacuum Phil Cohen, who, by the way, folks, I mean, have you seen the size of that nose? I mean, that nose arrives before he actually walks in through a door. But it's a story for another day. And of course, the living embodiment of how easy it is to get a law degree, yes, Joe Quintero. Folks, yes, in the city of Hoboken, they're more worried about pronouns in Palestine than public safety and property taxes. And here's the latest example. Now, of course, Hoboken mayor addressed some backlash that he was facing after a recent Palestinian flag raising. By the way, a shout out and a thank you to James De Los Santos, the editor of HuffPost, for his reporting on this story. Now, Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala responded to criticism regarding the city's decision to raise a Palestinian flag, a gesture requested by some local Palestinian residents. Now, the move drew some sharp complaints from some who equated it with support for terrorism and, in some cases, anti-Semitism. All right. Now, Mayor Bala compared the backlash to similar criticism earlier in the year when the city raised the Israeli flag for Israeli Independence Day. Quote, the raising of the Palestinian flag is in response to direct requests we've received from Hoboken residents of Palestinian descent. What, like 10 people? Really? In a city of like tens of thousands of people? This is who we're catering to, Ravi? In accepting this request, as we do for similar requests, we are expressing our appreciation for a community of people, their culture, their identity, and heritage. The mayor emphasized that these flag raisings are intended to support local communities and not political actions. Sure, Ravi, no one's buying this. Quote, back then I took lengths to explain that raising the Israeli flag is an expression of our support of the Israeli community in Hoboken and beyond at a time of deep hurt and suffering. Now the exact, sometimes the word expressions have entered my email inbox in reaction to the raising of the Palestinian flag. The mayor of Hoboken went on to say also, quote, I was asked why, when there are a few Palestinians in Hoboken, that we should raise the flag. Folks, if there's 10 Palestinians in Hoboken, that's a lot. So why we're coddling this community is beyond me. And I feel this makes it even more critical that we do not silence or deny the existence of a small minority of residents. Reorganizing their existence is all the more important for our community as a whole. In Hoboken, we host flag raisings. Oh, you sure do. Every June, we have to deal with Pride Month and the insufferable LGBTQ plus minus ABC 1, 2, 3 crowd that gets a flag during Pride Month, that want their voices to be heard. I cannot and will not discriminate against any community. I am proud to be a mayor of a city that is welcoming to Palestinians and their allies. The mayor concluded that by reaffirming that diversity and inclusivity are central to Hoboken's identity, saying, quote, equality will be our hallmark. Well, folks, here's the truth about Ravi Bala. And I've been saying this for years on this program. Ravi Bala seems to be more concerned with pronouns than property taxes. And in some cases, let's be honest, as we've seen, public safety is last on his agenda when it comes to things of importance. But this latest act of virtue signaling by the mayor shouldn't come as a surprise. Upon taking office in January of 2018, one of his first actions as mayor was to make Hoboken a welcoming city to illegals by declaring Hoboken a sanctuary city. And very much like other sanctuary cities around the country, folks, what have we learned about enabling and coddling illegals? In many cases, we're coddling criminals that live in our communities. But don't say it to Ravi Bala, because Ravi Bala would rather virtue signal like he did on MSNBC. And again, folks, let's be honest, nobody watches that trash network other than the family members, okay? So when Ravi Bala appeared with Jason Johnson on a weekend edition of a show on MSNBC, and yes, and I get it, all 19 people watched it, what do we see from Ravi Bala with Jason Johnson? We saw 20 minutes of outright virtue signaling and denouncing the threat of the incoming second Trump administration. Folks, I'm not a constitutional law professor, but I remember taking constitutional law in grad school with the great Dr. Elizabeth Hull at Rutgers Newark at the graduate school. And God bless you. I love you, Dr. Hull. But I remember when I took constitutional law, and by the way, I got an A in it, surprise. But I remember somewhere in the Constitution, oh, that's right, Article 4, Section 4, talks about states having the ability to protect against an invasion. That's what we're living through, folks. We are seeing criminal illegals coming across our borders, destroying our communities, in some cases engaging in criminal acts like homicides, like in California with Kate Steinle, and in Georgia with Laken Riley, where we're seeing criminal illegals committing murders, assaults. We're seeing gang activities in public housing units across this country. Folks, that's not hyperbole. That's not hysterics. It's there. It's being reported by real media, citizen journalism. Not the establishment media at the national level or the establishment media here in New Jersey, which we all know they're effing useless. Okay? But what have we seen? We've seen the harms and the dangers of illegal immigration. We've seen our classrooms being overcrowded. Folks, I have hundreds of friends who are school teachers in all 21 counties in New Jersey who work very, very hard. Men and women who are entrusted with teaching our kids. And we're seeing classrooms exploding to 35, 40, in some cases 50. Why? Because we're seeing illegals bring their kids across the border and not flooding our school system. We're seeing illegals use up our social services and our resources. We're seeing illegals destroy the quality of life in many of our communities when it comes to real estate. And crowding 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, even sometimes 15 illegals into an apartment or a home. Folks, is this what we want out of immigration? Listen, I'm the son of immigrants. I get it. I remember my parents coming here the right way, the legal way. And I understand that sometimes those methodologies aren't available anymore. I get it. But folks, a wide open border for the last 4 years, those are the chickens coming home to roost because of the incompetence of the Biden-Harris administration. And that's why Democrats lost on November the 5th. By not even acknowledging that there's a problem at the border, by not even acknowledging that illegal immigration is causing a serious strain on our communities. But back to Ravi in Hoboken. Ravi Bala is a guy who every Pride Month, and it's interesting because this is the same guy during Pride Month will take taxpayer dollars and make sure that we have drag queen story time at the Hoboken Public Library. Folks, you want to have it at a private bookstore? Cool. That's a private business. But when parents go to City Hall and council meetings and complain that they don't want their kids as young as 4 or 5 to be subjected to drag queens or trans people during a story time activity, God damn it, that's their right. They pay property taxes. It's their tax dollars. But do you think that Jim Doyle, Emily Jabor, Phil Cohen, Joe Quintero, and Ravi Bala care about that? No, they don't care. They're more about, again, you want to talk about wasting money? Ravi, instead of repainting the crosswalks every June in downtown Hoboken rainbow colors because you're so desperate to coddle the alphabet mob, you're so desperate to get in good with Garner State Equality or the Hudson Pride Center because you want to make sure, you stay woke and you're in with the cool kids at the kitchen, at that one, lunchroom table. How about hiring some more police officers? How about making sure there's more foot patrol in Hoboken so we don't continue seeing what happened at Church Square Park? Oh, now you want to hire police officers. Now you want to have more of a police presence. Why? Because you finally got caught with your pants down. Well, that's a bad visual, just because it's Ravi Bala. But, folks, you got caught with his pants down. That's the only reason he's even remotely interested in public safety. Okay? So, again, in Hoboken, under the Bala administration, what we're seeing is a priority. Pronouns in Palestine over public safety and property taxes. And as far as Palestine goes, folks, I could not care any less. If you can find me someone who cares less about Palestine in Hudson County, do me a favor, find them. Because I'm pretty much leading the way. I could not care less about a Palestinian flag raising. I couldn't care less about what's happened on our college campuses since really October of 2023. Because I know friends of mine from grad school that teach at colleges in New York City who are Jewish, okay? Who have been verbally assaulted and in some cases physically assaulted on the campuses that they work at. Why? By jihadists that somehow are put up a fight and noise about a cause that they know nothing about a country that they've never visited or never planned to. But they want to let you know how down they are with Palestine. Folks, remember that little picture I posted up on this program some many, many months ago talking about all the jihadists on our college campuses? Do you remember that picture? It was a picture of Nazi soldiers standing on the steps of Vienna University in Austria in 1938, stopping Jewish students from entering campus. And what do we see earlier in 2024? We saw basically Nazis with headscarves standing on the steps of Columbia University, Barnard College, NYU, Rutgers down in New Brunswick, and other campuses throughout the tri-state and even throughout the country. Folks, what we saw earlier this year were Nazis simply wearing headscarves now, standing up for a country that most of them couldn't find on a map if their lives depended on it. But somehow you want me to care about disregarding the only ally that we have in the Middle East, the only democracy that we, the United States, can ally ourselves with. You think we can ally ourselves with these sort of aristocracies, these Islamist nations, these Islamist states like Iran, Syria, and other countries that wish death on the United States every single day? Yeah, no thanks. So when it comes to Palestinian flag raisings, yeah, folks, I'm not interested. I never have been, and I never will be. A shout out to the Visual Arts and Performing Arts Department at Union City High School for their recent production of Frankenstein, if you all remember, a great novel by Mary Shelley some many, many decades ago. And a shout out to Jeff Henning from Hudson TV for his reporting on this story. So when you think about iconic movie horror characters, maybe nobody stands out more than Boris Karloff, whose 1931 performance of the creature of Frankenstein is indeed legendary. The original novel was written by Mary Shelley more than 200 years ago, and it was published anonymously in London in 1818. At the time, Shelley was just 20 years old. But recently at Union City High School, Frankenstein came to life once again as the school's theater department was staging 5 performances of this exceptional story. Shout out to its director, Anthony Gusevich, and all the great staff at Union City High School for putting on this performance. Folks, I can tell you, I've seen highlights of it. Again, shout out to Jeff Henning for looking at the wonderful makeup, the wonderful structure, and folks, the production value was just second to none. But what else do you expect from the exceptional staff at Union City High School? Of course, as I said, it starts with its director, Anthony Gusevich, and all the great staff that worked there. Robert Astudillo, and of course, Kristen Pinello, who head up the Performing Arts and Visual Arts Department. Again, 2 great artists and a lot of talented students help make Frankenstein come to life once again at Union City High School. If you missed it, folks, check it out on YouTube. It's definitely worth viewing. Lastly, folks, as we're closing out the month of December, don't forget the Holiday Happy Hour is coming to the Mad Hatter in Hoboken on Wednesday night, December the 18th. It's my annual toy drive to benefit local communities and kids during the holiday season. We'll have plenty of drink specials, appetizer specials, and we are asking each guest to bring 1 unwrapped toy, and upon arriving, and once you donate the toy, you'll get a free shot at the bar. I want to thank the great staff and the management at Mad Hatter, which is located in downtown Hoboken on Washington Street. There is nearby street parking and a nearby parking deck, so folks, mark it on your calendars for Wednesday night, December the 18th at the world-famous Mad Hatter as Vladimir Carrero, Kristen Rossi, and Lucy Costa join me, and we'll be greeting you as you arrive, and folks, we'll be partying with you all night long, and hopefully we'll make a difference in the lives of local kids during the upcoming holiday season. So we'll see you on Wednesday night, December the 18th from 7 p.m. until closing time for the 2024 edition of the Holiday Happy Hour. Folks, and that's our show for 2024. I want to thank you all for tuning in here throughout this year and supporting some of the best journalism you'll find anywhere, not just in Hudson County, but throughout New Jersey. I want to thank the Hudson Media Group, its executive producer and CEO, Patrick O'Melia, for his belief in my abilities and in this program, and of course, in my media brand, and I appreciate his support going into 2025. I also want to thank the great staff I work with here at the Hudson Media Group. Folks, make sure you like the Hudson Media Group on Facebook. Of course, follow them on Instagram, Twitter, and also subscribe to them on YouTube. Always remember, folks, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. I'm Fernando Uribe. Folks, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Festivus, Happy Hanukkah, and we'll see you in 2025.